Okay, once more, welcome everybody to the webinar today. It's a CPUX webinar from UXQB and iSQI. And thank you very much for joining us today. Thomas Geis, the president of the International Usability and User Experience Qualification Board, and me, Corinna Fleming-Vogt from iSQI, will guide you through the presentation today. I'd like to start to give you some general information about iSQI, who is the international certification body for UXQB. Afterwards, I will hand over to Thomas Geis, who will give you some interesting insights about the CPUX-portfolio. Please feel free to ask questions by using the question or the chat function. We will be happy to answer your questions after the presentation, so we will collect them and finally we will look if somebody has a question and going to answer it. For those who haven't been in contact with iSQI before, I'd like to give you some facts and figures about our company. iSQI has been founded in 2004 in Germany, Potsdam, and now we have 3 entities worldwide in the Netherlands, the UK, and the US. Until today, we conducted over 120,000 exams worldwide on 6 continents in 90 countries and 10 different languages. We are working together with over 300 examiners who are conducting exams globally. Here you can see our product portfolio, which contains certifications in many different areas. As I still mentioned, we started in 2004 with software testing and now offer certifications, for example, in requirement engineering, mobile app testing, software product management, or usability. And as usability is a very important topic and the demand for certifications, especially in this area, is growing constantly, we would like to give you some insights in the certification today. I would like to explain the cooperation model between UXQB, the certification body, and the training providers. The cooperation is based on the certification process, which is sorry, I have a little blackout. So, which is leaned on ISO or IEC 17024, which divides the responsibilities of each of the parties strictly. UXQB publishes and maintains the curriculum, the glossary, and the certification procedure for the CPUX foundation level and the advanced levels. The certification test is conducted by iSQI, which is an independent certification body, and therefore it's an independent certification. UXQB does not conduct trainings. International training providers develop the training material and conduct the trainings based on the syllabus. Now I would like to hand over to Thomas Geis, who is our specialist today.
Thanks a lot, Corinna. Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas Geis. I am the president of the UXQB. Just let me go to the next slide from here. Okay, here we go. Oops, that was 2. Sorry about this one. Here we are. My name is Thomas Geis. I'm co-founder and current president of the UXQB. I've been working in the field of usability and user experience for the last 25, now actually 26 years. And in that period, I did spend my first 10 years of professional practice in usability testing. And after 10 years of testing lots and lots of what we now call interactive systems, which could be on one hand a software, on the other hand a nuclear power station actually. After 10 years of testing, usability testing of interactive systems, I decided to set up my own company and specialized in what's now called user requirements engineering, or also a sort of buzzword for it is user research. And over the last 25 years, I participated in the work of standardizing the field, standardizing rules and guidelines for usability and user experience. So I'm convening an ISO committee. I have edited several ISO standards for usability. One of them is on the so-called dialogue principles. And in 2013, I got an award from the German UPA. So that much about me. I'm an engineer. I'm actually a rather practical person. I started off as a professional in automation engineering, which is now again quite popular with all those autonomous systems coming along. UXQB, what is UXQB? Originally, before the UXQB started operating, there was a lot of effort in developing standards, professional standards for work in usability and user experience that was carried out by the UPA, the German UPA. UPA is the acronym for Usability Professionals Association. On an international level, it's now called UXPA. And in the German UPA, there was a working group for long years that analyzed practical guidelines for practitioners on how to create work products in usability engineering, what those work products should have in terms of attributes, what makes a professional, let's say, output of a UX professional. And in 2010, the German UPA published a role model for usability professionals, where we looked at different professional roles that de facto exist in projects, and we looked at their responsibilities. This is published, you can find it on the internet. And also a quality standard was published from the German UPA on the processes of usability engineering and user experience design. And during that period, between 2007 and actually up to 2012, there were always questions of practitioners asking for a certificate that would state that those people who are experienced in the field of usability and user experience and who do professional work, those people demanded, or many people demanded, a sort of acknowledgement that testifies, certifies, attests that they are professional people in the field of usability and user experience. And that led to the professional development of the so-called CPUX scheme. CPUX stands for Certified Professional for Usability and User Experience. And in 2013, the German UPA had developed a full, you could say, a full certification program for a certified professional for usability and UX. And while we were doing that, we realized that it is actually necessary, if you want to internationalize the scheme, that you cannot offer it by a national body. And therefore, the so-called UXQB was founded in late 2013. And the UXQB is an independent organization that partners with various usability professionals associations around Europe. And this organization now maintains the so-called CPUX scheme, Certified Professional for Usability and User Experience. So in 2013, this certification scheme was launched. 1 year after, we launched an advanced level certification scheme on usability testing, because there was a lot of demand. Lots of people were asking for a professional in usability testing. And in 2016, a second advanced level was launched on user requirements engineering. I'll talk about all that in a minute, but I just wanted to give some history so you understand what is the UXQB. The UXQB is not a company. It fully relies on voluntary work. It is volunteers who run the scheme, and it's a non-profit organization. Okay. Now, when it comes to usability and user experience, we never know who really attends the webinars, and some people really investigate about usability and user experience for the first time. Some people who attend think about becoming a recognized training provider. If you have questions on that, just don't hesitate to ask them. Just put something in the chat, and we'll talk about it once I'm finished with what I want to show you. But If you look at usability and user experience, those terms are actually defined. They are defined by ISO. Usability is defined in a standard called, or standard with a number, ISO 9241 part 11. And there it says usability is the fact that users of a so-called interactive system, practically speaking, is anything that can cause trouble to the users. It can be a telephone, it can be a toy, anything that beeps or responds to user actions, we call interactive systems. If we look at interactive systems and we look at the term usability, usability assumes that a system is usable if users are able to effectively get to what they wanted to get to, if they can effectively do their task with the system, if they simply get to their outcomes. That is one aspect of usability. Someone who cannot get to their intended outcomes with a system by themselves is not faced with a usable system. Then effectiveness itself is a sort of entry point for usability. It's mainly, usability is about making people efficient, making people with a system as efficient as possible. Because if we use a tool that shall help us doing our tasks, we need to be more efficient with that tool than without it. Otherwise, there's no point in using it. And it is assumed that usability also makes sure that people are not dissatisfied with what they are experiencing. Satisfaction is the third component of usability. And usability looks at what happens during actual use of a system. So as soon as users put their fingers on a system and do with it what they want to do, as soon as that happens until they have achieved what they wanted to do, we talk about usability. Usability looks at actual use. Now, there's another concept called user experience that is now also standardized in a standard called numbered ISO 9241-210. And user experience is assuming that people who use a system already consider its use or already anticipate its use before having held it in their hands. So user experience looks at how people anticipate a system, how they actually use it, and how they feel after they have used it. So user experience looks at not just the actual use of a system, it looks at all what's called perceptions and responses that occur to the user when anticipating a system, actually using it, or having used it. And basically you can say, if users think about using a system, they somehow already perform a usability test in their mind. They imagine what it would be like to use it. And if that usability test fails, the so-called anticipated, the test of anticipated use, if that fails, then there's no reason to actually consider a product to really use it. So user experience actually has a strategic impact on product development and product design. It's a concept that more and more is being applied by product managers because it's realized that users must be able to anticipate what a new system will do to them once they have it, because otherwise there's no reason to consider it. I'll show a nice example how companies lately apply that concept to really make business with their interactive systems or with their solutions. Now, user experience looks at anticipated use. So it looks at the perceptions that people have before having used the system or even have purchased it. All of us, if we go to the shop and we look at the shelf and we compare phones, we compare whatever products we're thinking about. As soon as we start looking at the products on the shelf, we are anticipating their use. It can be as simple as a toothbrush that you want to buy, and you just imagine what it would be like to brush your teeth with it. So once we have anticipated the use of a system, hopefully we have a positive perception about what the system can do for us. And then if we actually use it, ideally, the perceptions that we had before now come to truth. If what we anticipated to happen now really happens, that would mean that we have a positive response we experience what we expected to experience. Maybe we even experience something better than we anticipated. But if we actually get confirmation of what we hoped to happen when we consider the product, we would say that's the next stage of user experience. So a set of positive perceptions and responses while we use a system is part of user experience. And last but not least, once people have used the system, afterwards you have feelings, you have responses about what you experienced, and these can take actually rather long. Can actually take a rather long time. So digested use is not just what you feel immediately when you stop using the system. It's something that you carry with you. And if you had a positive experience with the product, you might tell others about it. And this overall cycle is considered user experience. And what we are seeing is that more and more companies who offer services and deliver products in conjunction with one another, more and more companies consider that for their services and products, they are building user interfaces, explicit user interfaces that allow people to anticipate the use of a product. And you also see user interfaces that enable people to communicate what they have experienced after they have used the system. It's as simple as having having the thumb up that we all know from social networks, or also the rating interfaces that we see in online shops. This is all about explicit user interfaces for communicating experienced use, or what I here call digested use. And if you really have a close look at the concept of user experience, and you look at what companies are doing in their online shops, here is an example of an online shop of a company called Mr. Spex. They are selling glasses, and what they allow with their shop is that you can select a pair of glasses, as I show it here, and you can actually try it out online. Now, what you will see in a second is my face, me personally, wearing a pair of glasses in that online shop. So you're not uploading pictures of your face and then have some interface where you can look at the pictures with the glasses. No, you can actually try the glasses on in the shop and anticipate what it would be like to have those glasses. And interestingly, the shop you see here, Mr. Spex, it was in the beginning, it's a startup from Berlin, or it's not a startup anymore. It used to be a startup from Berlin, and they were the ones who first had this interface here for trying on glasses in a very advanced style. And they are now the largest European online shop for glasses. They were a startup, and they really took their users serious, and they looked at the concept of user experience, anticipated use. And here you can try out glasses, you can purchase them online, and when they come with the post, you just go to, you get a voucher with them. You can go to your next optician, who then can helps you, fitting the holders for the ears, so they exactly fit your face. And these people actually are quite happy about the overall system. First, I thought Mr. Spex takes the work of opticians, but actually when I talked to opticians who work with this company, they said, no, that's a really good deal, because we get 10 euro for fixing glasses for people, and we've got so many people coming in here getting the Mr. Spex glasses fixed that it's really good for our business. So here I'm just looking at a pair of glasses, where you would say, come on, in the optician's shop, I would never put it on my face. But maybe when I'm in the online shop and nobody looks at me, I might be much more keen to try things out that I have never considered before, and therefore I can have a much better prediction about glasses that suit me and glasses that don't suit me. So I just wanted to show you there are companies who develop user interfaces as part of their services for anticipating the products that they are selling. And that is, in the beginning, you would have said this is a gimmick or something, but it is actually a very effective user interface that allows you to foresee what you are buying in a rather realistic style. And it's an example of a company, just an example of one company that takes the concept of usability and user experience rather serious. Okay, so now we've learned about what is usability, what is user experience. It's a fascinating field of expertise. And it's, hang on, I just got to not start that again. Let me go back. It's having seen what we just seen doesn't mean that in today's world, we are living in a world that is full of beautiful business software and, you know, all of us who go to work and work with, I don't know, systems where you claim your travel expenses back and whatnot, or large business systems. If we look at those systems, what we find is that there's lots and lots of usability problems in those products. And if we look into industry and we ask ourselves, how comes, you know, that in the year 2019, the world has not yet really understood how to build systems that make people effective, efficient, and happy. One reason for this is that we still have an insufficient number of usability and user experience professionals who are trained in usability and not trained in an arbitrary way because somebody told them something about usability. If we look in today's world where we have multinational teams, international teams working together, where we have to assume that each of them have to technically speak the same language, they have to rely on the same logical concepts so they can work together. If we look in today's world, and we look into the globalization, it is very important to have usability and user experience professionals who are trained according to one and the same thing, one and the same school of thinking, one and the same set of concepts. And that's why we believe in UXQB, it's necessary to have a unified international scheme. So usability professionals talk the same language, they use the same concepts, they use the same terms, because otherwise they're never gonna really work productively together. So we have an insufficient number of usability and user experience specialists. Still, looking into projects, that's another phenomenon. Even if you have usability people in a company, user experience specialists in the company, what you see in projects is that often they are consulted too late in the product design. Typically, somebody does something, somebody designs some user interface, and once everything has been completed, the usability people and the user experience specialists are supposed to have a look at it and sort of magically heal it, do some testing with it, do some reviews with it. But the one thing we've learned over long years is you cannot test usability and user experience into a system. You have to design usability and user experience into a system. And that requires usability experts to be part of the project team right from the beginning. But that is nothing that you would say is self-evident in large projects in industry. And therefore, we're having a problem with the usability specialists being consulted too late. Now, a third phenomenon that we see with interactive systems is sometimes, you know, a product that is launched first. More and more, they talk about minimum viable products these days, where you say, you know, we just got to launch something that functions with the minimum functionality needed. So you can market it quickly, you know. But what we see repeatedly is that products that start off well, over time, they become more and more complex because new features are added without looking into the user requirements for that system. And that can have fatal consequences. A product that has started successfully over time can become less and less usable, and that then in turn leads to a reduced market success, and you offer the market again to competitors who see the problems because they have usability people and they might test your product to find out what's wrong with it and then not make that mistake again. So over time you can really lose money and market by simply adding features to products without looking into the real user requirements of your users. And the overall result then is that user experience suffers, acceptance of products decreases, and expected market success is not achieved. There's so many, just look at yourself, there's so many apps, you know. Remember the last time you went into an app store, you looked for a certain app, you downloaded an app, you installed the app, you opened it once, and the next thing you did was to uninstall it. And if somebody develops a product to experience that people who find it and actually make the effort to install it afterwards, after having looked at it once, just having looked at the first impression they got, remember anticipated use, they delete it again or uninstall it again. That is the worst one can imagine as an outcome of an expensive development. So usability and user experience is not the normality in the world that we live in. The demand for usability and user experience specialists is growing. Right. More usability, more market success. UXQB develops and maintains a worldwide certification program for usability and user experience. The end of last year, we had our first pilot training in the United States. About more than 25 people took the test. I think 80% passed, and we now even have the first provider, the first training provider in the United States. Now, our aim is to develop and maintain. We have developed it already, but now we are sort of making sure it keeps its quality, it's kept up to date. We are maintaining a consistent quality standard that should work globally. That is the aim of the UXQB. Right. Certification offerings. What is it actually that we are certifying? Let's look at it. Now, first, there is a so-called foundation level, UXQB Certified Professional for Usability and User Experience Foundation Level, CPUX-F. And once you have achieved that certificate, I'll talk about how to achieve it in a minute, we have 3 advanced level certifications that we offer. 2 of them are already in place. First one is the Certified Professional for User Requirements Engineering. Second one is the Certified Professional for Usability Testing and Evaluation. If you ask yourself, why not just testing, also evaluation? Well, there is more to assessing interactive systems against usability than only usability testing. There are also methods like inspecting the product against guidelines and user requirements, also doing surveys with users to find out how satisfied they are with systems. So usability testing and evaluation assumes there's more than usability testing. Having said that, usability testing is still the key method to apply when evaluating a interactive system. The third advanced level that we are currently working on, we assume this to be ready by the end of 2019, is the advanced level on designing solutions. And I'll talk about that a bit more later on. Now, how to achieve a certification? How does it work in practice? Now, let's start with the foundation level. The foundation level assumes that you do not need any prerequisites to take the test. Whether to pass it is another subject, but to take the test, you don't have to have any prerequisites. Anybody who feels being capable of passing the foundation level certification can go to iSQI and take the test. Actually, UXQB recommends that knowledge in the field of usability and user experience, prior knowledge, is an advantage, or we don't recommend it, we just know that it is an advantage, but it's not a prerequisite. And you know, those people who are long years experienced usability, user experience practitioners, they might not have a major problem to pass the test. So if you feel, look, I am a professional, I'm just looking for some kind of evidence that I am a professional, that is a good reason to take this certification test. Or if you are more in a beginner's environment, we would recommend that you take a training with a recognized training provider, but it's not necessary, it's not required. So for the foundation level, if we look at the type of test that you have to take, the exam type is either paper-based. You go to a public event that is organized by iSQI, where you can sit down and take the test, paper-based, or you go to a so-called Pearson VUE Center. Pearson VUE Centers are basically computer training centers around the globe that also offer to take all kinds of certification tests on a computer. So you sit down at a computer and you can do the test online. So these are the two ways that allow you to take the test. And the foundation level test is a multiple choice test with 40 questions that you are being asked. And you have 75 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes to answer those questions. If you are not a native in the language that in one of the languages that we offer, which is either English or German, you can apply for a 25% time extension. So you can take actually 90 minutes to do the test if you, let's say, if you speak Spanish or if you speak French or another language. Now, this is the foundation level test. It's purely multiple choice test. There's always the question, and people might ask it today again, well, what's the failure rate actually? What's the failure rate in the foundation level test? The answer is it's approximately 20%. It's between 20 and 20-something%, but practically speaking, about 20% of the people who take the test do not pass it. If we look at the advanced level schemes, the first one is the user requirements engineering scheme. The exam type here is always with the advanced levels. We have a theoretical test and a practical test. Why is that? Well, we assume that our advanced levels don't only certify that you have knowledge, they also certify that you have certain capabilities. So you must have shown that you are able to do certain things. That's why a practical test has to be completed in addition to the theoretical test. The theoretical test is a 90 minutes test here, 90 minutes, where you have a set of multiple choice and open questions, also called essay questions, a set of multiple choice questions and open questions around the field of user requirements engineering. You have 90 minutes for the theoretical test. And what normally happens is that the theoretical and practical tests are offered within 1 day for the user requirements engineering professional. So the first, let's say the first 90 minutes of the day are the theoretical test. And afterwards, participants have to watch a video where a so-called contextual interview is being conducted. That means a user requirements professional interviews a user about their what's called context of use. And participants have to observe that video. The ones who take the test have to observe the video. And after observing the video, you have to analyze the information given in the video for so-called user needs and resulting user requirements. And for that practical test, you have 6 hours of time, 6 hours to sit down and analyze information about users, about what are the requirements in here that have to be implemented when we are designing an interactive system for them. The test is available in English and German. Actually, in March, there will be March 2019, next month, there will be the first certification training in the United Kingdom. It will be in Edinburgh. You can look it up at the website of the UXQB. There's more and more international trainings on user requirements engineering coming up. But the first preparatory training for the user requirements professional is in March 2019, next month in Edinburgh, Scotland. The third advanced level that we are offering is usability testing and evaluation. Again, here we are having a theoretical test plus a practical test. For the usability testing professional, the theoretical test now has been completely redesigned to just offer multiple choice questions. We're aiming at the same for the user requirements engineering one, to simply to reduce the complexity in analyzing the test results afterwards. But for the usability testing and evaluation professional, the theoretical test, again, 90 minutes, is a multiple choice test. And the practical test, you have to assume that it takes you, it's a sort of a homework that you take with you. And you have to assume that it takes you about 3 days to complete this homework. And that is a real usability test. What's expected from people who want to get the certificate is that they complete a usability test where they get a specific assignment, they get a task where they are being told about some public website, something that can be publicly accessed, and they have to complete 3 full usability tests with real users. They have to recruit users, they have to sit down with the users, they have to design the tasks, the test tasks to be performed with that system. They have to conduct the test, they have to write a report, and the whole test sessions will have to be recorded on video and handed in to the UXQB expert examiners, who then assess the quality of the work that has been done. This test is also available in English and German, and these are so far the certification schemes that are public. As I said, the design one is under development, and it, according to our plan, and we now have a rather stringent project plan. According to our project plan, it will go public by the end of this year. Okay. Now, UXQB makes a lot of effort to be a very transparent organization. All the things we do, you can read about. You can read the full curriculum for each of our certification offerings. There's a full glossary available for each of our certification products. Also, the procedure of how to get certified has been defined and is available. And for each of our levels, foundation level, usability testing, user requirements, engineering, we have a full set of test questions that can be used for self-assessment. They're all published on our website. Also, for training providers, those who want to offer training, we have designed for each of our offerings a model course that shows you, how you should organize your course. So you make sure you cover the full curriculum, you cover all the content, and you get it done within the time that is economically feasible for your participants. All of our work is based on ISO standards. We are applying ISO 9241, which is the standard series for usability and user experience, mainly parts 11, 110, and 210 for those who really want to have a look what those standards are. And there's another set of standards called the Common Industry Format for Usability, which we also use to establish our curriculum. Okay. Our website, uxqb.org. Here you find our documents. There has been an update actually about a year ago, 11 months ago. We updated our foundation level curriculum, and after that update, we only had the resources to have the current version online in English and German. The former versions were also available or are available in French and Russian. If some of you ask yourselves why particularly Russian, well, we simply got a sponsorship at the time to translate the work into Russian, so that's why we had it in Russian and not in Spanish. If we would have had a sponsorship to do it in Spanish, we would have done it in Spanish too. But the old versions of our curricula are available in French and Russian, so those of you who speak those languages, you can at least look at the previous versions that are no more used for certification, but it might inspire you to find out what's really behind the UXQB and what's approximately what we are looking for as part of our certification. So all our documents, anything I quoted before, is on our website, and the website is www.uxqb.org. Here you find everything. The overall process model, there's an overall, you can say, process model for usability and user experience, which assumes that if you want to build usable systems in general, you have to follow certain so-called human-centered design activities, where we assume, you know, if you want to get usability and user experience into your project, you have to plan for it. If you don't plan for it, forget it to begin with. If you don't plan for usability and user experience, it's not going to happen in your project. So part of the overall curriculum is planning the human-centered design process. Then we have a lot of guidelines on how to capture the so-called context of use. This is basically about what people really do. And based on this, we work out what people really need when it comes to an interactive system. So first you identify the context of use, then you specify your user requirements, and based on that, you produce design solutions that meet the user requirements. And as we all know, we're always dealing with the uncertainty principle. Whatever you do, you'll never do it right at the first try, and therefore we assume that part of the overall process of designing usable interactive systems is evaluation. Now, when we evaluate products, it's rather natural that we find out, well, we overlooked something in the context of use. We might not really have understood one of the tasks well, or we realize we have overlooked user requirements, not sufficiently specified them, or we simply realize we have done a bad design. You know, even if you look in context of use and user requirements, if you don't know the guidelines for usable designs, you might still come up with a, let's say, rather unusable design solution. And in the curriculum, you find all those deliverables that you see here. You know, for each of those human-centered design activities, it says UX deliverables. And those deliverables you see here, they are all specified in our curriculum, and part of or a core part of getting certified is to know what those deliverables are and what they consist of. And in terms of advanced level certifications, you are also being assessed for being capable of producing them in the quality required. So this is the overall process model for what's called human-centered design now. And those of you who work in a rather agile environment, you know, if you look at it, don't mistake this as a sort of waterfall approach to projects. What you see here can be applied to each and every sprint that you have as part of a Scrum project. Okay. Process model. Now, our glossary of terms clearly differentiates concepts that have to be differentiated. There is the concept of user needs, which is a different thing from user requirements. If you look into the curriculum, you will find out all about it. It's just an example to show you, you know, we take terms serious and we're not that much into buzzwords. There are technical terms that UX professionals have to understand, and two of them are user needs versus user requirements. Also, in our curriculum, you will find terms such as is scenario, which describes how people live now. It's the world that they are in as it stands. And you find another term called the use scenario, which describes how people will be experiencing their work once they have the interactive system in place, how it makes them more efficient, what the situation looks like once the system is there. This is called the use scenario. So, you know, we're not just using terms like scenario because everybody's talking about scenarios. Nobody really knows what's that one scenario versus another one. We're differentiating as is scenarios and use scenarios. Another term, a very, very fundamental term, I wouldn't call it a basic term, it's a fundamental term, is the term user interface. The definition that we apply here from ISO 9241 is that you assume the user interface of a product is all the information the product gives you in order to complete your task, and it is the controls that the system gives you in order to complete your task. So it's the totality of information and controls that a product gives the user to enable them to complete a task. That's what's called user interface. And it sounds rather obvious when you hear it, but if I give you a snapshot question from our examination, here's a typical example of what an exam question looks like. You get a question and you get 6 possible answers. And of those 6 possible answers, either 1 or 2 or 3 answers are correct. And the question would always, for the foundation level at least, would always tell you how many answers are correct. So the question here is, which 3 of the following components are part of the user interface of a car for the driver of the car? And it gives you accelerator, license plate, stick shift, bumper, tow bar, and carburetor. These are the 6 possible answers, and 3 of them are actually part of the user interface of a car from the perspective of the user group car driver. And if we look at the right answers, you know, if you just want to make a guess, write down what you think the right colors are. If I now click, the right answers are accelerator, stick shift, and tow bar. The license plate, the bumper, and the carburetor are not part of the user interface. Now, we want to argue about that for the next 2 days. My advice is read the curriculum, read the public test questions. This is one of them. And in our set of public test questions, you will get a clear explanation why, or a reasoning and argumentation, why the 3 ones that I have highlighted in gray here, why it's exactly them that are correct and why are the other ones not correct. Maybe the one thing I should state here without looking to that example, you know, what we want to make sure when it comes to the term user interface, that users don't have to interact with the system functions. Like if you look at some sort of public ticketing systems for buses, you are confronted with the tariff system instead of being able to tell the system where you want to go and ask it how much it is. And we just want to make sure when it comes to the user interface, that the user interface really contains the information and controls that are needed to complete a task, rather than confronting the user with system functions such as a carburetor. So that is, you know, that is the rationale for taking the term user interface so serious. Many user interfaces are actually not user interfaces. They are basically system functions that are being thrown at a user. Okay. Once you've passed the test, you receive a certificate, and the certificate confirms that the statement in the certificate is that those who have passed the test are familiar with the general terms and concepts in the following 6 areas of competence: human-centered design process, definitions, concepts and guidelines, understanding and specifying the context of use, specifying user requirements, producing design solutions, usability tests, usability inspections, and user surveys. Now, it doesn't mean you are a professional in terms of being capable of everything you see here. It means that you are familiar with the general terms and concepts, and to be familiar with them means to know and understand those concepts. Doesn't necessarily mean at the foundation level that you master those concepts, but you can talk with those who master them because you speak their language. Advanced level, current status, I said that before. There are 3 advanced level modules. 2 of them are in operation. First one is user requirements engineering. There's a high demand on that one. Second one is usability testing and evaluation. And the third one is designing solutions. And this one we expect to be ready on the market by the end of this year. Internationalization of the CPUX scheme. Let me talk about that for a minute. Now, the UXQB is not some sort of small club of a few people who do what they want. UXQB is actually an organization that has what we call member organizations. And the UXQB is very keen on cooperating with UX professional chapters around the globe. And at the moment, we are having 5 international chapters that are actively engaged in the UXQB. The first one is the German UPA. The second one is the British or the UK UXPA. The third one is the Swiss UXPA. The fourth one is UX Denmark. You know, in some countries you have those UXPA chapters. In other countries you have UX professional organizations that not only relate to the so-called international UXPA, but also to other professional organizations that also deal with usability and user experience. So that's the case in Denmark. In Switzerland, it's UX Pro. UX Pro is the largest association of usability and UX professionals in Austria. And each of those organizations has a contract with the UXQB, and they have to assign 2 professionals from their organization that actively review documents and comment on documents and help building documents, technical documents of the UXQB before they get published. So each organization that joins us is capable of having an influence on the UXQB and its outputs. So I highly engage people who listen now, people who are from a country where you have a national UXPA organization. If you want to join the UXPA, become a member organization, you're most welcome to contact us and initiate the process to do so. We are absolutely in favor of expanding our organization and having more and more international experts who help us doing the work. Okay. By the middle of January 2019, we actually had more than 4,000 certified usability professionals, I should say around the globe, but the concentration, most of them come from European countries, but we also have US certified people. We have people in Australia who are certified, in Asia, in South America. It's people that are professionals that go to those Pearson View centers that iSQI actually operates for the CPUX. Well, don't operate them, but they operate within them to offer the certification for certified professional for usability and user experience. But there is now, since our launch in 2013, which is five and a half years or something, we have certified. We got 4,000, more than 4,000 certified usability professionals around the globe. And that is quite an achievement. It is quite an achievement. The numbers are growing. They're growing and growing. Okay, I think that's as much as I wanted to say today. If there are questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat and we'll talk about them. We still got a few minutes left to answer your questions. So I would now want to hand over to Corinna and see if there are questions.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. Indeed, there are some questions, and yeah, I suggest to read them out. One question was regarding the dependencies of the different certification levels. So, do I have to take the foundation test before I can use an advanced test? And are there some dependencies between UT and UR? UT and
right.
UR.
Yes, thank you very much. Excellent question. Now, to begin with, we assume if you want to take an advanced level certification, you have to have taken the foundation level certification, simply because the advanced levels build on the foundation level. They're not independent at all. They simply advance concepts that have been introduced as part of the foundation level. So if you want to go to an advanced level course, you should definitely have taken the foundation level training or the foundation level, either you have taken the foundation level training and certification or just the foundation level certification. If you look at interdependencies between the advanced levels, I would say, looking at testing, when you do test products from the usability perspective, you actually test against user requirements. You typically test either against user requirements or you test against user interface guidelines or both. And if you look at the dependency between user requirements engineering and usability testing. In user requirements engineering, you learn how to establish verifiable and validatable user requirements. And in the usability testing advanced level, you learn how to test against them. So yes, there are logical dependencies, and we are very, let's say, keen on having those dependencies, because all the things we teach are effectively interrelated. Whether we decide as a board to have them interrelated in our curricula or not, by nature, all of this is interrelated. So yes, there are dependencies, and if you want to take an advanced level, you should have taken the foundation level before.
Thanks for this answer. Another question was, how is the CPUX certification different from BCPE certificate called CUXP?
CUXB. I must admit, I don't know what, I'm absolutely sorry here, but I don't know what CUXP is. But without knowing it, I seriously don't know it. If I knew it, I would sort of try to give an explanation. But there are several certification schemes available on the market. There are companies who have their own, let's say, proprietary certification scheme, and there are others who have what we rather refer to as an ecosystem-based certification scheme. Ecosystem means that, you know, you have one board, like Corinna explained right in the beginning. There are these schemes where you have one board that independently of providers produces the scheme, and then you have providers who can get accredited to teach the scheme. Then you have companies who certify against the scheme, who are again independent of the providers and who are independent of those who supply the curriculum. So there are various certifications on the market. I don't have a comparison of them. The one thing I can advise you to do is to look at whatever a scheme is there, inform yourself what this scheme certifies. Our scheme is absolutely explicit. Every single detail is published and in a set of documents. So with the CPUX scheme, I can tell you that whatever you want to find out, you can read it yourself by looking at our website. With regards to other certification schemes, I can only advise to do the same. And I can only hope that you find the information that you look for with the other scheme. With ours, you definitely will.
Okay, thank you. There was one more question about the advanced level. I think there was a problem with typing. So the certification, I'm not sure if UR or UT was meant, where you're analyzing the video. You get shown a video and then you have to analyze it.
Yes, that's you.
Yeah, the question was if the attendee can replay the video or has to do the analysis on some notes or memories or something.
Right, right. Now, the way it works is it's about a 30 minutes video that you see. And during this video, a set of questions is being asked to the person who is being interviewed. And let's say there would be 7 questions that are used in the interview to find out what that person does and what the context of use is. Now, for 5 or 6 of those questions, the text of what has been said, the so-called as-is scenario, is already documented for the participant. So the information that you later on have to analyze has been written down for you as part of the test. But some of the video, some of the interview itself has to be documented by the participant. Simply to see whether people are writing down what has been said, because it's a big beginner's mistake when it comes to interviews. Many interviews that people listen to, if you look at what they have written down, they don't write down what people have told them. They write down what they believe these people need. So Coming back to the question, I would say about 80% of the data that you need to use to analyze, to identify the user requirements are already documented for you. Still, you have to watch the video, and one or two of the questions that are raised that you get data for, you as a participant have to write down the text. So you have the overall, what we call as is scenario for the analysis of the user requirements. But 80% is being documented. You cannot, to be very simple, you cannot replay the video. For practical reasons, it's just impossible, but you will have the mass of the text that you need to identify the data. You will have it available as part of the text in text.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Yeah, I think that's it. There are some special questions not regarding your presentation, some special things. I think me or you, we can come back to those persons directly. I think there's nothing else what should be discussed with the entire audience.
Okay. Okay, great. So thank you very much. If there are specific questions, we're happy to answer them by email. Absolutely no problem. It's either Corinna or me who will respond. Corinna will organize this together with you, with me. Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Pleasure. Thank you, Thomas, so far, and thanks everybody for being here today. Bye.
Bye bye. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.